Hi, I'm Vidya Balan, and you're watching Crew Cut. I'm very excited because today we're going to be in conversation with a costume designer extraordinaire. I've had the good fortune of working with twice over, Niharika Bhasin. So, Niharika, hi.
Hi.
Oh my God, I sounded so formal.
You did sound formal for
I
a second.
really wanted to.
I was just like, wow.
Yeah.
It's
so
impressive.
that's the tone of the interview. I'd like you to just keep it very
Thank
serious
you.
and, no faffing and all that.
Next,
Okay.
get another designer.
There's only one of you, I just said it. Okay, tell me, why did you become a costume designer?
It was a fluke.
What do you mean?
I think, my brother is a costume
Of
designer.
course.
Arjun is the costume designer. And I was working and doing stuff, and my friend Shanu and her brother Sam. Shanu used to be my assistant. We'd be running around doing shit together. And
Shanu, who's the casting
Shanu is the
director?
casting director.
Oh, okay.
And Sam has come up to both of us and said, you guys are useless. You should cast and you should costume. And I've got a film for you. You guys should do this. We laughed it off and I was like, whatever. And Sam would keep calling me and saying, okay, costume designer. One day he walks into my house saying, I'm coming to your house for coffee. And this very tall, looming gentleman with graying hair at that time, walks in with him. And he goes, this is Sudhir Mishra.
Oh.
And I'm like, hi, so come in. So he walks in and we're having coffee, we're sitting and chatting. And Sam says, you know what, Sudhir, this is the girl I want to costume the film for. And I look at him and I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding. I said, he said, this is the director. And I was like, sir, I'm really sorry. I've never seen any of her films. I'm sure they're wonderful. But I'm not a costume designer. And I said, I will fuck up your film. Those were my words. I said, I'll fuck up your film. We had some coffee. We're sitting there. And then Sudhir turns on to Sam and said, you know what? Hire her. We need people like this in the industry. So I was like, what does that mean? He's like, no, we need truthful people in the industry. I said, sir, did you not hear me? It's not truthful. I don't know how to do this job. And sure enough, it just went from there. Prakash Jha called me because they were doing the thing.
He was producing it.
Ex-husband at that time. And they were like, and I called Arjun actually. And I was like, this is what happened, ha, 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 and all. And he was like, listen, what ha, ha, ha? If I tell you to jump from a building, you'll jump. If I tell you to climb Mount Everest, you'd run. Where is your adventurous spirit? Somebody's giving you something, do it. I'll help you in whichever way. And I did.
Wow, so that was how you landed your first
That's
job.
how I landed my first job.
How many years have you worked for? You know that?
Yes. I started working when I was 39. I'm 54 today.
You're 54? I'm sorry, I have to die. You're 54?
Yeah.
And you've got the spirit of like an 18-year-old? Okay, anyway, you've worked with all kinds of directors, actors, creators. So what has this journey been like? How have you navigated this?
Like I navigate my life, babe. One day at a time, one step in front of the other. It's the only way to do it.
And I guess it works for you because it's worked out very well.
I can't do it any other way, which means there are times when I've done 2 or 3 films together. Financially viable and otherwise, because it works and my teams. But we've done it. And when I look back at it, I was like, what am I doing? But it works.
So if you've done 2 and 3 films at a time, that means you have a large team, a fairly large team.
Yes. So what I do with my teams is I train everyone from scratch because I just feel like I have no sense of, because I started figuring it out myself, so I have no sense of that. So I want to train someone to know how they work with me, and within the industry. And I wanted to leave a legacy of really good costume designers behind. So I said, for me to do that, I needed to train people. So I train there are very few people who have come, but then, but I train them normally from interns. So even if they've worked somewhere else, and I know this becomes a point of contention, if they work somewhere and they're like, oh, we've done design. I said, yeah, but you have to come here and do a 3-month internship with me. I have to see where you're at in the sphere of how we work, and then I will put you in. So yeah, I do.
And some of your assistants are working independently now.
Independently now, yeah. There are lots of people. So it's really nice to see people doing stuff, and when I hear my assistants are doing really well, it makes me really happy.
Really, how many assistants do you have on one project? Is there a hierarchy? Is there a?
It depends on the project. That's a lie. I lied. It depends on the budget.
Budget. I thought you were going to say that.
Yeah. It depends on the budget the production has. So my first thing is they have to intern with me. Once I know that, then I know which slab they're fitting into. And
what do you mean by which slab?
So like ADs.
Yeah.
So there's your associate, your wardrobe supervisor, then you have your first assistant who will normally be handling, say, your secondary characters or your background characters or everything. And then you have your second, third, fourth, depending on how many you can get. And your interns who are actually doing the running around. So if I have something that a director wants and they have to go and exchange it, do it on, somebody says, oh shit, did you get something? And we've forgotten it. So that person is running around. My interns then know how to do it. And WhatsApp has been the best savior of our lives. Sure. It's amazing. So that has given me a lot of time also to sit back instead of going to a store after they pulled out things for me to see.
When you're not on a set, are there directors who get upset when the costume designer is not on set?
Yes.
And you're obviously, I know that budgets don't always allow for you to be solely on one project.
Yes.
Right? Because it is that's what dictates whether you can dedicate yourself, commit yourself to one film. So how does that work? How do you navigate that with a director? How do you...
Difficult, but we do. My thing is, my creativity is done pre-production. If my team is strong enough, and since I have trained my team, I know how strong they are, then they should be able to manage without me. I'll tell you little secrets. I'm crazy Parsi, so what happens is all my assistants at any time, even background, anytime have to send me photographs. So even if I'm not on set, at whatever time, I'm seeing what they're doing. Though I have my lookbook, I have everything together, I'm very particular about, it's my name at the end of the road. I do not want that to be done. And as a head of a department, if I can run my department, that's all that counts. I've done the creativity, I put it together, I've done it. So navigating it, a lot of the time I check with production, I'm like, if you can't afford me, you have to let the director know. That's the first thing, because they shouldn't feel, if somebody wants you on set 24/7, then they should know that. And then if you're doing that, then you fight for that and you get your money for that and get it done.
So, I can't help wondering, therefore, what is it that makes you choose a film? Is it budget?
Never.
Story?
Absolutely.
The director?
Yes, number 2.
So, take me through your...
No, it depends. I'll tell you a very funny story. Guneet had called me. I'd done 2 films with her earlier, and she said, listen, come here right now. There's this director I want you to meet. He's got a great script. I'm very excited. Come. So I was cycling past in Aram Nagar, so I went to her office. And there's this young director, really like not even sitting properly. I keep teasing him, and he was sitting like this, and this young guy, and I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to get along with this guy. He's going to get just frightened by me. And he was sitting there, and she said, no, this is Ritesh Batra. He's making a film. He's come from America. He wants to start this. It's his first film, this. So I said, great, can I have the script? So he said, the script is ready. He gave it to me. Point number 1, plus. Full script ready, hand it to me. I was like, great. I go home. And I was like, listen, I don't even know whether I should read the script. Should I just say no to her? I don't know what is going on. She said, take a week, get back to me. And I was like, oh God, oh no. So I opened it, I start reading it. I read the first page of the script. It's never happened to me before when I read the first page of a script. And I was like, I read the second. I closed it. I called Guneet and said, listen, I'll do the film.
Really?
And then I finished the film. I have no idea why the first 2 pages of that film suddenly just spoke to me. And Lunchbox, yeah.
What a film.
And I was like, I'm doing this film.
When you talk about sourcing costumes or whatever you need to create a look, what is the real process of creating a look for a character?
See, everything is a marriage. When you get into a project, the reason we work project-based is there's a project. And that project works in a certain manner. You have to figure out how that project works. There are directors who will narrate to you. There are directors who will give you a script. There are directors that do. I try and tell someone, please don't tell me who the actor is.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They immediately, the first thing they want to do is, we're doing a film with Vidya Balan. And I'm like, oh, okay, can I know the film? I would rather not know who is in the film. And I'll tell you why, because then I can create something without any noise in my brain.
Right, right.
The minute I have someone, then I have noise. And once you do something, and then you can tailor it to whoever you're doing it to.
Which was going to be my next question. So once you know who the actor is,
then you have to tailor it.
Yeah.
And I tell all my directors this. And it's very difficult to explain this to people, but I'm like, you know what? If that's a really good actor, give it to me. I will fit it into your character. Whatever it is, I will fit it in because I know I can change someone to that character. That is my job. If I can't, I'm useless at what I do.
And I think costume, makeup, hair, the look is so crucial to the process of an actor getting into the skin of the role. It's half the battle won.
And it's the last one to be budgeted on your film.
What happens when you therefore, do costumes for a film where maybe there's no real character sketch? They're just, you've been sent the scenes and you've been told that these stars are playing the roles and now go for it. What do you do then?
You have to create a character sketch. It's like doing any kind of research in
So then you read the script and you create your own.
Of course, you have to. When Kaipoche happened, it was really pertinent to the story. The costume had to be pertinent to the story that is running. And you've got to understand, when I'm talking about a film, I'm always like, is it real? Is it hyper real? Which means I'm turning it as slightly better than it was. Or is it completely fantasy? Where I can do anything on a character. I can put anything in Golmaal. I can make it amazing.
I was just going to ask you about Golmaal.
I can make it amazing because, and Rohit Shetty is amazing to work with. He also has his thing and he allows you to do it. And so it's really fun to be in that space and make it, fantasy. It's not it's not what's running with the story. You've still got that, and it has to be as fantastic as whatever's happening between that.
But have you also worked with directors who are absolutely clear of the kind of costume? Like I've heard a lot about Bansali. I've worked with Pradeep Sarkar, who it's like he had an idea of how the costume should look, what colors, what border on the sari, the back of the blouse.
See, as long as you know it's a collaborative process, eventually it's his vision. I'm creating something to his vision, I'm adding to it. I'm the catalyst that adds to his vision.
Right.
And in any way, if I'm talking to my production designers, when we're talking about that, it's a collaborative process. We both have to try and understand, because we can't see what we're doing. We have to understand what we're doing, what are the colors, how it's going to be. So you're always a catalyst for somebody else. That's how film works, in my opinion.
On the basis of what do you make the choices you do when it comes to, as far as costume is concerned, do you think of what is the psychological state of the person, what social, economic background the person comes from?
All the above. I remember doing Kaipoche, and I had 3 boys. And again, vastly different boys. We had to train, but best friends together, staying in the same community, doing it. Amit Saad was a pujari's son. So, he had his shirts, he had this thing we had put together. Abhishek Kapoor said, I said, he's not going to wear shoes. So he said, why wouldn't he wear shoes? I said, because he's running in and out of his house. He has to get something, he forgets something. He's not going to keep bending down, putting on his shoes. So we'll give him chappals or sandals through the film. So even when he's doing that running scene where they do the song and everything, he's in his chappals and sandals. We don't give him, he throws off his sandals to play or whatever when he's doing stuff. With Rajkumar, I had, since he was the money guy and he was, he was very stingy with the money, he knew perfectly how to do. All his shirts were perfectly to size. Because in my head, Gattu was like, why are you doing this? And he's like, you don't want fitted shirts for him. He says, no, it's not going to, it has to be perfectly fit, because he's not going to spend 5 rupees more on spending that for the fabric he's buying. As it is, he's giving it to his tailor to make there in a small town. So when I think about the character, I'm thinking about those things. He had 2 pens in his pocket because he had to do his accounts. If one ran out, he wouldn't know how to do it. So those are things you think about through your film. How is it going to impact what the character is and help the actor? I don't want to take away from what they're doing. It's like I said, we're the catalyst. We have to ensure that we're helping them do what they need to be doing. They're the people who are going to be seen. If I don't make an impact in that 2 seconds about their economic status or what they are, I've lost my audience. But it's those things, and I feel like that makes the character. So you have to think about those things that can enhance and help you feel what you're feeling when you're doing the. There are films that, when we did Mirzia, Rakesh Prakash asked me, and he had done the film and he was looking for the folklore portion of the film. And I was like, how do you design folklore? It's folklore. You know, it's what.
And it's 17th century,
Yeah.
right?
So it's something that has just come down. You don't know how it is. You don't know where it is. There are these tribes coming together. There are things. And I did an entire, so like I said, the blank slate. Just started from scratch. And Rakesh is also very particular about what he wants. He knows exactly, this is how I wanted this. And he came to me and he said, you know what? I don't even know how I'm going to do this. And we were sitting there. I said, okay, let me try and put it together. So I literally created a map. I started off by drawing a map and putting the tribals into this map. And then saying, he said he wanted red and blue. So then we put that in and we said, okay, then there'll be the water tribe. There'll be the, this tribe. So we put that in and we had a book that we gave them with flags, because I said, okay, the flags are going to be pertinent to that. We're going to dress the horses, because it was a lot about the horses. I found out from, because we said, oh, we should tattoo horses. And I was like, no, we are not tattooing horses. So we figured out
I've never before realized that even horses, animals, everyone on set is dressed by the costume designer. It's never crossed my mind.
This it had, and we had to figure out. So I found out that in Rajasthan, when the camels, because camels have designs on them, so we could actually shave them so the design came on it instead of tattooing someone. So we did that on the horses. So we put all that together. So yeah, we put the whole thing together. And it was a blank slate. And like I said, when you allow someone to play, then they can come up with it.
And the costumes were so lived in. Not for a moment did a
But that's
single...
thanks to my team, because I really kicked their ass to get aging done.
Yeah, so how do you age costumes? How do you make them look lived in?
Difficult. Depends on how much time I have. If I have a lot of time, I can keep running them through a washing machine, keep washing them, making them so the colors fade into each other. They do it. Easiest way is, of course, chai pani, which everyone dips it in, which gives you that feel. And especially if you have white brights. When I did Rock On, I was fighting with them. When I didn't understand how film worked, like how can you not use white in a film? Till I realized when I saw the burnout. I didn't know these things. I was learning as I was going along every day. In Rang Rasya, which is my second film I actually did, I had all these new clothes and stuff, and we were talking about Raja Ravi Verma, and we'd gone to Kerala, and I suddenly looked at all the, and this is period.
And your very second film.
My second film. And I said, this looks really new. What am I going to do? So I said, took all my assistants at that time, Wafi Shan. I was like, come on, let's go to the village, let's exchange. Give them the new clothes and take their old clothes. So we did that through the thing. Yeah, we took
You had your actors wear clothes worn by someone else. Tell me you've not done it in any of my films.
I'm never going to say that. And never will my mouth open, ever.
Really?
Yeah. I've done a lot of that. We wash them. I'm not going to get them dirty. And then we amber powder them so they look dirty. But I'm not going to give them dirty clothes. I'm not that bad.
But have you ever done it like, you haven't washed clothes?
Yeah. And Delhi Belly. Delhi Belly, Imran, I want to kiss him because Imran wore those clothes because I'd aged everything, right? It's a 3-day film. And they're running through the streets, they get cement on them, they're slimy. And we're in Delhi in summer in Chandni Chowk. But there were things that I had done to the shirts and I couldn't wash them. So every day he'd be like, can someone perfume this shirt for me, please? It was horrible. But he did it and I really love him for it. But he did. And he did.
And when you have the luxury of time, then do the actors wear your clothes for a longer period of time to get into character, to make it feel lived in? Or is chai pani the only process?
Yeah. No, you do that as well. You get jeans, especially lived-in jeans. You give it to the actor. Say, put on your chappals, walk around. There was, for photograph, Nawaz was in the film. And I'd worked with Nawaz on Lunchbox. So I was like, I literally took the slippers of some guy, street vendor's feet. I said, please, bhaiya, ye de do, main aapko naya de deti hu. We got him shoes. I took those and I took it to Nawaz for the look test, saying, you know what, I'll take these, I'll age it like this. I just want to show you what we're doing. And he was like, pehna do. And I was like, sir, are you sure? He's like, pehna do. We cleaned it, we sprayed it, and he wore it through the film.
How amazing.
So
I guess
you get people like that. So you can do that. But aging is also one of those things that you have to figure out. I know when I look back at Rang Rasiya, the only thing that I totally messed up on is I had made those turbans. So they look like hats on their heads instead of turbans. Don't look at the movie again. But they do. And I wish I had learned to tie it, which is then in Rocket Singh, my biggest fight was I have to get someone to tie the turban. This is not going to be a maid turban. We have to get him to grow his beard. And Shimit was amazing. Bombay Velvet was my, I keep saying it was one of my favorite films to work on because I had my whole team working on it. We had period stuff we were doing. We had glamour, we had fun, we had everything. Nobody saw the movie, but besides that, we had a really good time doing it. Anurag is, I call him my soul brother because he's a lot like me. He wants people to get into his head to understand what he's saying. And he has to see a visual reference for him to then connect with it. So when I did Bombay Velvet, I decided I'm not going to do it on a computer because I might lose my director and he'll get bored with it. I said, so let me give him something to feel so that he knows how we're going to be carrying through our process. So I actually created mood boards and big boards like a poster sheet because I said in the olden times, how would I show a presentation if I was in that period? And I get into my space of understanding. But I made my assistants coffee paper the pages so they looked older and stuff. And then we posted like a collage, like you did collages as a kid and you put stuff together.
Wow.
So I did a collage for him. So I took him through what we thought the period was, what the background was, what it looked like at that time. So to give him visual references that he could play with, that he could understand and see, to take him through and then create the character. So we actually, so whenever I do anything, actually, I do start with a mood board, whatever film I'm working on. Because the mood board, either it's catchwords. If I want a catchword for an actor or something, that they have their catchwords in that character or what they are, who they are, then with photographs to collages. Also, it helps my assistants get into what they're understanding. They need to live it as much as I do to get there, so that when they are also going to, pick up something and source, they know exactly, not this one, it's too expensive looking, this one, or this, or this. So we're doing all that and putting it together. So in Bombay Velvet, that was our first sheet. Then I started with swatches, because I said maybe he won't understand the fabric and what we're trying to do. Besides drawings, we did drawings, we put it together, we did, assistants who were great. So we put all those things together, and then we put swatches together, and we literally made him a 4-hour presentation. He's like, what are you doing to me? We took an interval and a couple of intervals. But we got through it, and that's how I put it together for him.
Tell me, is there any costume designer's work or any film where you thought that the costumes were impeccable, Indian, international?
Fifth Element.
Really?
Lilu Dallas Multipass.
Yeah. I'm a science fiction, fantasy, this thing, and that world just blew me away when it first came out. And at that time, there were big designers who were doing it, and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And I wasn't working in film at that time. I just remember that being a really important film for me that I looked at. And of course, there's always this Star Wars trilogy, there's all those things that stay and remain. But yeah.
So have you done any sci-fi? No. So
no, I did a horror film. I did Gaslight.
Right.
But I haven't done a sci-fi yet. I'm waiting.
So is that what you want to do next?
Yeah, I would love to. Any fantasy, science fiction where I have to create it, big mythology, which is when we said Mirzia. I like creating that world. I like creating a world that has something that I can, that there's design and there's robotics and there's, there was something. I want to do something like that.
Right. But also, I'm guessing that, you're working in collusion with, of course, the director and the actors. What happens when a DOP tells you that, Niharika, this costume is great, but it doesn't fit into. It doesn't fit into my set, the color scheme of my set, and this is
Color
clash.
scheme I can do. In fact, when Rock On was happening, Jason West, who's a really good friend of mine, he was on the film. And it was a rock film. Everyone's talking about rock, and we should do this, and we should do that, and Jim Morrison. And I'm just like, what are you guys talking about? We're making a Hindi film. But we were doing this, and Jason and I would always clash on the white. That's when I realized that you can't use white on a film till you age it. And so I was okay with that. And then one day he turned around and he said something about, but I don't think those are fashionable or something enough or something. And I was like, oh yeah, now that's not going to fly. And he was like, what do you mean?
You
I was
don't
like,
come and tell me.
You tell me about your light and your colors. Don't tell me about what it is. If you don't like it, you can give me an opinion. I'm very happy to listen to an opinion. But don't come and tell me it's not stylish according to you. So we had a bit of a thing, but we were laughing about that. But yeah, we've had that.
Right. And what about production design? Does a production designer have input as far as costume is concerned?
Absolutely, because they're creating something, and if the colors are going to clash with it, if the, like you said, the cinematographer doesn't want it to clash, wants it to be, subdued in it, what we're trying to create, all that comes into play. So you are working together.
So when a film doesn't work, what happens?
I always tell my assistants this. If a film doesn't work, nothing happens to costume. If you do great, you do great otherwise. If a film works, it facilitates it better.
So for anyone who's wanting to do costumes in films, is there any advice you'd give them?
It's a difficult job, and everyone thinks it's very glamorous and fashion, and there's lots of money. Film doesn't have a lot of money. You're not going to suddenly become a billionaire overnight, because it's not going to happen. Film does not have money. But you have to love what you want to do, and you have to want to work at it. And if you have that spirit to keep going, the energy to keep going. I keep saying occupational hazard, but now that I'm in this field, I'm looking at everyone more closely. I've always been attentive, and I've always looked at people, and I've always found the absurd and this thing, but I'm constantly looking at people. Watching people, how they're doing something, what they're doing, what they're putting together. I'd gone on a trek up to Sattal, and this guy was selling peacock feathers, that peacock feather fan. And that time I was working on Bombay Velvet. And I was like, this is really interesting. Then I noticed in the peacock feather fan that they had small peacock feathers. I've never seen that in my life. Because normally you get them this size, but they had them the little size, which were actually full peacock feathers. And they were real. I made my friends and all of us run around the entire chalk and buy all of it. And one of Ravina's dresses I made out of those peacock feathers. And I did. And I carried them all back, and they said, are you mad? I said, no, this is what I want. This is what I want to do. And this is what and I remember having a fight with Anurag and my DOP that day, because they put blue light on that. And I started crying. And I was like, nobody can see the details. You have to hit yellow light on my feathers. You don't know where they've come from. So I do stuff like that. Yeah. So,
as an actor, especially when you're in the middle of a difficult scene and someone comes to adjust your costume.
I have a checklist. I have it's 69 checklist of things that the assistants have to go through. And one of the things is that you have to know what the scene is and what you're doing. Actually, Amit told me that. He said it's amazing, because Tasneem was looking after him at that point, and he was going through that really emotional scene. And I told her, I said, you will not disturb his thing. Notice when he's on set, the minute he is not concentrating, he looks up. When he's concentrating, he looks down. So the minute he'd look up, Tasneem would say, sir, can I come in? And then he'd be like, yeah. And he's like, how do you do that? I said, but that's what you're doing. That's when you're looking at what people are doing and understanding it. So when we start working with an actor, we do talk to them about what is your process. Do you want someone to keep coming and touching you? Do you want your assistant to do it? Do you want, because those are things that they are working in. And if I'm disrupting you, then it makes no sense.
But I think there is no better place for me to say this than now, that on both the films I did with Niharika, The Dirty Picture and Shakuntala, I didn't once wonder how I'll end up looking in the film. I was completely sure that she'd do what was right for the character and yet bring out the best in me. Especially the dirty picture where, yeah.
Big praise, babe.
No, but I mean it.
Now I'm going to go into one of my favorite movies, Dirty Picture. I haven't seen this in a really long time.
वो देखो सूर्या की बीवी इधर ही आ रही है।
आखिर आज आपसे मुलाकात हो ही गई। बहुत सुना है आपके बारे में।
जितना आपने सुना है मैं उससे कुछ ज्यादा ही हूँ।
You know, in a period film, you're constantly looking at the bigger clues that show you at what period it is. So those have to be first taken into account. So you know that, okay, I have to put on big collars or I have to put big trousers, I have to make them. If I'm trying to clue in time, those are my first clues that I give you. Because then I can play within that. And you see the simplicity of the lady who comes with her kid, the hair, the flowers in your hair. Those are the things that are really important. We put Shalaka, who is, as you can see, Vidya's hairdresser, into the frame. So I had to change her kurta to make it look at that in a certain manner. With Nasir sir, we actually did an entire wardrobe. I have a North Indian eye, whatever it is. And when we look at South India and South Indian films and how they're made, we had at that point also looked at it with a different eye. So you had Kwikkan Murugan, you had things that made, that loud, that, we liked that sense of what they were showing us. And we went through this look test and all of us were thrilled with the colors and this thing. And then we were sitting there watching it a second time and Milan called me and he said, I don't think it's working. And I said, why? And that is a really scary thing to tell a costume designer, you've not got it right. And then we went through it, all of us, and he said, the thing is that this looks like we're making fun of it. I'm making a serious film. How do we tailor this to make it look in that vein and yet to bring it down to a level that clothes are not taking away from me if he's saying something pertinent to the story, if something is going on. So we re-looked at his entire wardrobe and changed it to come to this, that older star, with and in South India, that they're much larger than life than they are here. And to have that sense of it, and somebody who's just coming through, and the writer and the other people standing around. Who are those people? The lackeys who do stand around on a set. How would they look in a South Indian setting? And to have that, so we had to give them that hierarchy and the status within the framework of seeing all those men together and understanding it.
अरे ओ राइटर साहब, सिर्फ अपने भाई से ही चिपके रहोगे या हमसे भी मिलोगे? ऐसे देख रहे हो जैसे जानते ही नहीं?
In the darker colors, as you can see, he's the only one with the red, so you have him. The embroidery patches we put on them, brooches, as we call them, to give it that sense of it being a little more. Especially with Vidya, with Silk Smita, you had so many varied things she went through, her emotional ride, her professional life, where she came from, how she did it. In the village, just before intermission, when she goes to her village, she goes back to the village. And we were like, what is it? Again, I wanted to choose the red. Red is a very pertinent color if you see through the film for her. Yeah. And she's got this red sequin dress on with this little heart cut out. And she's walking through with Tushar because he takes her and he goes to knock on the door and she doesn't. So there were lots of reds that we got. She had, I think, about, I want to say at least 180 changes in the film. Now, her color palette wasn't through the film because she goes through so many rides through the film. So when you see her younger, you see the lighter colors and you see her getting into, becoming a star and the colors and the shine and the, with everything. Then you see her also coming down and you see her. So I had to play with the colors to make it also exciting. If you're going to see 180 costumes, they better have some, without it being monotonous to what it's coming at. So we did. So her color palette, when you look at it, there's a lot of color that we played with her. And the big thing we had talked about is when we had to make her look bigger, and I had you had to have fat oozing on the sides. I had to tighten her literally because she wasn't as big as it seems to be. There are tricks that we've used and tightened it to make her, and she sat in that manner to make it look bigger than it was.
But tell me, you said, someone told you that you look like you don't work.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm guessing your work-life balance is on point.
I'm always working and I'm always having fun. So for me, I'm a fun monger. If I'm not taking fun and giving fun, then I don't want to be involved.
But it is
Absolutely.
true. I have to say it is true.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So there's
I don't want to be
you don't
involved.
have
If
to.
it's not fun, I don't want to be involved. Then my assistants can look after it. I don't want to be involved. But that's what it is.
So when
I
you don't
wanted
land up
to-
on a set, we know that set is no fun.
Shooting myself in the foot. I'm shooting myself in the foot. No, I've got other things to do. I'm a busy person. I'm cycling to see you in
Yeah,
the middle
I
of the
know.
day.
How amazing is that? Yeah, you're always very particular about your exercise. You
As
travel
I said,
a lot.
I'm really old. I've got to get there.
You travel a lot.
Yeah. I like
And-
the travel. I like the...
And all of that, I feel like, a lot of people in this profession don't live life because there's no bigger school or treasure trove for us to dig into, right? To learn from, to borrow from. And I just feel people are not, a lot of times it's just the work.
No, I'm constantly begging productions like, okay, we're doing this in so-and-so place. I've never been to Bhopal. Can I go to Bhopal and spend 2 days there, see what people are like, see what it's like, do my recce, sit down, have a cup of tea in some dhaba. Depends on what it is. You have to, and that's the fun.
And yeah,
That's-
you need to
that's also the
live
fun.
to be able to, I
have
think,
to.
bring any of that experience in any department, right?
Yeah.
To what
it
you
has
do.
to be. It has to be fun. We're creating something. We're creating something to
There has
give
to be
people.
joy.
There has to be joy.
Joy of creation.
Yeah.
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 Firstly, I can't believe we've chatted so much without talking rubbish.
Yeah.
Because when we meet, that's all we're
All
doing.
we talk. Yeah. Rubbish is our middle name.
No, but thank you, Crew Cuts.
Yes.
Thank you, Jim and Zoya, for facilitating this. This is the first time I'm interviewing someone, so I absolutely enjoyed it. And thank God it was Niharika on the other side. I've always had great respect for what you do, but today that much more. And no, genuinely.
No, I'm kidding.
But all the best and more power to you.
Thank you, baby. Let's be footsies.
You're doing that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.